know we gotta go until the song ends, because that's how it's done. Boom. Oh no, we lost the music here. Oh man, this is just, it's all bad right now. You know we're gonna have to redo this just because this happened. Okay, now it's super loud too. All right, we're restarting this. So we gotta go back here. There we go. Now this is being done correctly. We're also live on Rumble for the first time. Hello, everyone. This is Rolo, the Puerto Rican pistolero, coming to you live on another beautiful Sunday evening here in Miami. It's great to see all of you here. I'm having a good day so far, and it's always a pleasure to be here on these Sundays and have these wonderful discussions with you. I really, a big thank you again to our first guest last week, Jara. She was fantastic. It was the first time I ever had her on a podcast of my own, and she was great. So go ahead and share that episode. I think the discussion was fantastic, and Jara does a lot of great things, not just for helping women, helping the Second Amendment, and just all around being a great American, I think, and somebody that that really gives a new meaning to workaholic, because she just doesn't stop. So huge shout out to her for coming out here last week, and again, go ahead and share that episode out there, because I really want people to see that. That's the kind of content that has been kind of a long time coming here on the show, and having more guests, more people to have great discussions with, and I think that that adds a lot of value to what I'm trying to do here, and especially when we can get different voices. It really does. It does us a great disservice when we don't have different perspectives, different expertise, and professions in these kinds of discussions, especially when we're talking about politics and our rights. And I think that people like Jara have helped me along the way on my journey through the Second Amendment. So when it comes to history, and, kind of my love for everything, and kind of my awakening politically over the last few years. A lot of you may know that, I kind of evolved from your kind of I'd call it like default conservative. And, you know, when I was 18, was around the time that the Iraq War was going on. So it was the post-September 11th era. You know, I was really coming of age during that time. And it was interesting to see within, you know, both parties, there was kind of a bipartisan agreement to, you know, go into Afghanistan, go into Iraq. Obviously, later on, things changed. And, you know, I supported all of that at the time. I was like 17 years old, so 18, didn't really know. A lot of my friends went over that were a little bit older, came back. They're the ones that got me into guns and the Second Amendment, you know, guys that were in the Marine Corps, guys that were in the Army, and served over there and did, you know, did good work. And they're some of my best friends still to this day. So, you know, kind of seeing that, and then kind of seeing, you know, just the debacle that the post, you know, the post-invasion era was with all of that, and how, you know, American blood and treasure has been squandered by, you know, politicians on both sides of the aisle at this point, but by Republicans at that time. It, you know, kind of disillusioned me to both parties, and it really, you know, kind of started changing what I expected. You know, the straw that broke the camel's back for me was obviously what happened in Florida after Parkland. And I think that that really was, you know, kind of a watershed moment for me, you know, when I saw what the Republican Party in Florida was doing. You know, knowing and having so many friends that joined the military at, you know, 18 years old, 19 years old, 20 years old, who had their Second Amendment rights stripped from them in the state of Florida was absurd. And it really wasn't something that we expected. Red flag laws that, you know, obviously eliminate due process. You know, when there were already existing laws in place that really weren't enforced, that could have prevented, you know, that disaster. And it was just, it was a big moment of kind of disillusionment in the parties for me. And it, you know, it made me start really scrutinizing things more. I'd already understood history, where we came from, but I really wanted to delve deeper into this. And that's when, you know, I started getting introduced into the greater Second Amendment community. And some of the people that Jared and I spoke about, you know, specifically like Kevin Dixie, and I hope to, I need to give him a call one of these days and see if he'll jump on. He was, you know, one of the more prolific and guests on this channel previously. And he had, you know, some of the longest shows that I've ever been on. And he really is a great scholar when it comes to history, and especially, you know, when it comes to the history of the United States and the Black community, and the struggles with the Second Amendment there specifically. So, and you know, it's been great working with him over the years as a mentor with navigating how kind of the Second Amendment space works, the social media space, because like anything else, there's always politics and drama, and the politics, I don't mean like the greater politics of, you know, maybe Republicans or Democrats. It's, you know, inner social politics, you know, between, you know, people on Instagram, you know, social media personalities really. And so that's always one thing. And then really pushing the message across, which is the advocacy for the Second Amendment, for our individual rights, educating people on, you know, safe and responsible, you know, gun handling, getting training, protecting themselves, protecting their family, not only by becoming more proficient in the skill of using a firearm, but in knowing the, you know, the legal pitfalls that unfortunately can arise when you use a firearm to defend yourself. So that's been a journey that, you know, and I never expected to get into this, to be honest. So I always like to take moments to talk about this stuff, especially when I've had a guest like Jara, who's had a huge influence on what I've done throughout all of this. And I know I have kind of a different perspective, I know a lot of you, I see Dirty Jersey, Wayfarer, Greg the Goblin. There he is, dropping the 20. And we've got 20 people here watching. I saw Dirty Jersey, Thunder Ducky, Ad Victorium, Comic Misconceptions back in the #1 spot with the comments there. JM the Elite Fan, Thunder Ducky. Thank you so much for being here, guys. And thanks again, Greg. Greg's always the real MVP here, the Gobbler. Oh, man. The old man's never going to live that down. So I'll make sure to know that that's gone all over the place. Greg, we're gonna have to find a way to capitalize on this. So maybe we'll have to add like a turkey icon or something terrible, but only with your permission, in good humor and in good faith. So yeah, so I have a different perspective than a lot of people do. I know, kind of in the space, because almost all of you right here in the chat. Some of you have been watching me for the almost 4 years. I think it'll be 4 years this year on YouTube. That I started, as the Puerto Rican Pistolero, being on various podcasts like Hank Strange's, Who Moved My Freedom podcast, and a few different others throughout the years. I think that there he goes. Thank you, Warsaw Patriot. What's going on? It's been a great experience. It's been learning, and it was always about, spreading that message of freedom, educating others, educating myself, and trying to set a positive example and showing a different side of, gun ownership, because I was somebody that came into gun ownership on my own. It was through, the influence of my friends. Like, the old man will be honest with you and tell you that, he didn't own firearms, when I was growing up. I got into that on my own. He was never opposed to them or anything like that. It's just, being from Puerto Rico and, Second Amendment rights until more recently there being very restrictive, kind of like how New York and New Jersey are. It's not something that was very common. There's not hunting or anything like that there, really. That's widespread. The same culture here. There's for some, birds, things like that they have there, but it's not anything, and probably iguanas too, but that's probably with like air guns. How's it going? One car fast. So, kind of coming into this on my own, and, having that journey and trying to set that example. And it was never anything that I really wanted to get into. I wasn't on social media for years. I tried to avoid all that stuff because I really didn't care, to be honest. I was pretty disengaged when it came to that stuff. Hung out with my close friends, my family, did my job, enjoyed my day job, played video games, watched great shows, and enjoyed my life. But once, like so many others, and it's unfortunate that this is usually what it takes. And this could be in anything, that we make changes in our lives that are usually positive as the result of something negative happening. I mean, it always happens, right? So, your rights your rights are threatened. Now you're paying attention to it and you're saying, wow, I took the Second Amendment for granted because I could always go get firearms. And then you start thinking about, well, what are other things that have gotten in the way of this right? CDV, what's going on? And it really just gets you thinking about the bigger picture when you have that thought exercise, when you start thinking about, okay, how far back does this go? What was the reasoning behind this? Were the motives perhaps, logical and positive, and then there was abuse of power? Was it always, pretty much meant to be some sort of authoritarian power grab? Throughout history, that's what we've seen. Disarmament campaigns are typically the result of authoritarian regimes trying to take up as much control as possible and not wanting any sort of possibility of, resistance, retribution, anything like that, or a threat to their power. So, we've seen that slow erosion. Some of it is cultural as time changes, traditions change, certain things go out of favor. We used to have, shooting kind of shooting competitions in schools, marksmanship, things like that. Young kids used to be able to have, and by young, I mean, older teenagers in high school have gun racks on their cars and things like that. Hunting was obviously more prevalent than it is today. And, self-sufficiency, things like that were the name of the day. And, there was a more rural environment. We weren't as developed. Now we have the massive suburban sprawl. We have, police a little bit closer, but we still have, kind of a society that has taken a turn in a different direction. See, there you go. Greg says he had a hunting club. R. Leon says, I wish PR had a better situation with the 2A. PR doesn't recognize my CCW permit, so I feel naked when I'm there. The criminals have no issue, though. Saludos desde Georgia. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I know. That's one of the problems that we have there, and that's what makes it difficult when you visit, and it sucks. And it's one of the reasons why I can't really, it would be tough for me to move there full time. I would always have to have some sort of presence here because, I do enjoy the Second Amendment and I enjoy my firearms as a hobby as well, and it's a hobby that, unfortunately I've invested thousands of dollars in, between firearms and equipment, parts, and ammunition, especially, taking classes, going to different events, and it becomes extremely cost prohibitive if you're really into it. Now, there's, obviously more affordable ways to get into it. You can shoot 22 all the time, which is something that I also try to do, but there's a lot of awesome 22s. So you end up buying a lot of 22s and you're still buying guns, and then you still buy other guns. And then it's just whether the gun shoots a smaller caliber or a larger caliber, they're all fun to shoot in their own way. They're all cool to use. And that makes it a very expensive hobby. It's like getting into cars or anything else that you need to invest time and knowledge to get into. And I think that's anybody that's a tinker that likes those things, especially men, we tend to gravitate like that. There's a lot of great women in the Second Amendment. There's women that love to build their own guns, like anybody else, and that are into that kind of stuff. But usually it's the guys that we go crazy with wanting to have a ton of them, and wanting to tweak them, wanting to build more, wanting to buy more, wanting to have different types. And it's not even for any practical reason. Let's be perfectly honest. It is, it's just because we want them, because different guns are fun to shoot. So, and that's kind of how you spread the Second Amendment as well, because you can have, multiple, just like the First Amendment is protected. That doesn't mean that the First Amendment is serious insofar that it's something that's enshrined. It's a God-given right, for us to be able to express ourselves, to have a free press, to be able to, protest our government and institutions. That's absolutely sacred. That's serious. But it also allows us to have jokes. It allows us to create art. It allows us to, develop video games, entertainment, things like that. All the things that we love that actually make life worth living. And I think sometimes we forget that, how important those things are, and that they're intertwined. And I think that, we can't forget that, things like art and comedy, all of that are protected by the First Amendment. Those are things that we care about. This is also how we make social commentary. We've seen kind of the death of comedy as time goes on, as the years have gone on, recently with woke culture, cancel culture, and things like that. And it really it's really become an issue. And we've seen kind of how comedy, their comedians, George Carlin, and others that have, predicted, kind of what's been going on with politics, of seeing how things have been coming, that have called out the charade that the two-party system really is. And it's a scary thought having a society that doesn't have people like that are able to make us laugh about it, but it also exposes the truth of what's going on out there. And it can actually bring us together, because you can see that, yes, there are people that want to cancel guys like Dave Chappelle, and that would have canceled any comedian from the past that we love. Insert any famous name that we know of. And good to see you, Rebel Scum. Always a pleasure. The time change, I know, has thrown things off. I was a little bit off all day today. Night Train, what's up? And, Carlin would have gotten canceled today, instantly. He would have been canceled like a few years ago. They wouldn't have even let him stick around. And you can kind of see the fear that people have to step out. I mean, look at, just to use the example. And this is kind of my opening monologue. Hello to Rumble. This is the first time I am streaming on Rumble as well. So I know I probably only have a couple of people over there watching, but we're going to get this working. So Rumble is obviously a great platform that gives us more flexibility than YouTube does, and, gives us another means to preserve these streams. I've made some upgrades to this computer and preserved, all the streams that we've had here on this show, and we'll be preserving all of those going into the future and creating copies. But preserving the message that is created, or preserving the message that I have here is extremely important. And anybody else out there that is a commentator, a streamer, anything like that, you always want to make sure that you protect that data, that you keep local copies, you've got backups. You can have local backups are the most important. Cloud backups are good. With media, it can get, pretty cost prohibitive. But, we can, we can preserve that message for the future. And even if we get canceled, we're still going to be around. So trying that out, and I think that's going to be pretty awesome. So I'll be doing that going forward. It seems to be working really well. So you guys can let me know if you like that, if you see any issues with Rumble and any of the quality there. But to me, it looks pretty good. And, it drops us to 1080p, but for these commentary streams, it doesn't really matter. We're not playing video games or anything like that. So I think that, going kind of back, this is kind of my opening monologue here. It's been a long time since I've kind of gone deep. This is pretty much what I do, where I do have topics that I want to go over, but I always like to open the show with what's on my mind, kind of go through a discussion and, tell a story that makes, that kind of relates everything that's going on and what's going on in the world. And going through so many things over the last few years, it's pretty crazy. It's a whirlwind, and it's almost like a movie sometimes. And seeing, not only in my own life, but what's going on in the world with politics, with, Trump's presidency, with the election cycles that we've gone through, the one that we're about to go through now, the media, the collapse of some of our most beloved franchises in entertainment, and the changes there, while simultaneously seeing positive changes in other areas like Rippa and the Rippaverse, like some of the video game changes that we've seen, and the evolution of all of that, of the entertainment space and where it's going, and how important independent studios and creators are going to be in the future for that independent media and its rise. Tucker Carlson kind of taking the reins there, and others like Joe Rogan, Tim Pool, kind of being in that space for years and taking us through the post 2015 era, or the post Obama era, really, I should say. And it really is, it's crazy how quickly things can change. And that's something that we always need to be ready for. I think that you always need to be ready for, discomfort in life. You can be blindsided by it, and it'll take you by surprise. And things that you thought would be, would always be there, that would be unchanging, plans that you've made, you have to, regroup and figure things out all over again. And it's important to be prepared for those things. You take your moment, you can be paused, you can be stunned, in a sense, but you have to regroup, and you have to know who you can trust, and you have to educate yourself. First of all, you really have to help yourself with mind, body, and spirit in order to make it through these times. I mean, we're going to talk about the state of disunion, as I called it earlier, and it's pretty crazy to see where we've gone, and I think that we're obviously in a bad place right now as a country. I've tried to. I think over the years I've gone on some pretty serious rants about where I feel like things are going. I think I've tried to be more optimistic as time has gone on as well, because I'm seeing and meeting more and more people who are awakening to these things, who are becoming more educated on how this all on how things are supposed to work. People who are have a lot of faith. Have a faith. I was going to say a spiritual, spiritual beliefs, have a lot of faith in God. That show a lot of empathy, and have had their ideas changed throughout the years, and have seen the changes that we have, and that are able to articulate, their ideas. And it's been crazy to see so many people coming together that kind of see the writing on the wall. Some people are optimistic about the future because they're seeing us come together. Some people are, us in this space, I should say, coming together, and others that are pessimistic because they think it might be too late. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird to sometimes look at the way that society is, because we work in the now. Everything is instantaneous. Everything is live. What's going on right now, even through this stream, it's a pretty short delay that I have set right now. So there isn't, everything is happening in the present. And if I throw a banana at the screen, everybody's going to know it right away. Somebody can tweet it within a couple of seconds and be like, Rolo threw a banana at the camera and it was weird. Or, if my cat comes in and starts complaining and talking on camera, we'll all know about it. So that's how our society works. We can see these things. We're going to live in a future of deep fakes and AI videos coming soon, but, and right now, really. But this is kind of what we've gone through, so this is, this is what we've got right now. And it allows us the opportunity to make different connections with one another. And, I've definitely been a little bit more pessimistic in the past about things. I think that it's pretty understandable to have that kind of feeling. And it's ironic that as I've had some big changes in my life, I've become a little bit more optimistic about things, and it may seem a little bit contradictory, but it really comes through overcoming adversity. And I think that that's how we have to try to look at things. We have to try to overcome adversity here, and we can't lose hope. We have to be ready for anything that may happen in the months and years to come. But we can't lose hope and can't lose faith. Now, when you heard Joe Biden speak during the State of the Union, that was of a country that's kind of lost hope, and it was really sad to watch. Honestly, it's almost not even what he said for me. I know, there are certain things that everybody is sticking to, or not sticking to, I should say, focusing on. I think for me, obviously, one of the biggest things is Biden talking about an assault weapons ban, a quote unquote assault weapons ban. You guys know that I'm going to disagree with any sort of, firearm restrictions or gun control. We're not going to really, Jara was right when she said what she said. We can be optimistic about it, but like with a lot of things, once we lose certain things, we're not going to get them back, and we won't be able to take them away. Take other things away. Brandon Herrera is awesome. I've gotten to meet him a couple of times, and it's it's always fun. He's a funny guy. He's cool. That's all I can say about Brandon. There's a lot of stories, but they're not mine to tell anymore. Oh. But I like Brandon. He's a cool guy. Yeah, let's go, Brandon. He really is an awesome guy, and what we've seen him do with the AK Guy brand, that channel, and even a lot of gun tubers. I know there's always a battle. G-Webs is not in the chat today. G-Webs, like I said, is one of the OGs when it comes to gun rights and advocacy, especially on YouTube, and educating young advocates. But I do think that GunTube has done a lot to bring a positive side of the Second Amendment, to grow it, especially in our youth today. YouTube has really just done a lot of good. As much as we love to hate on YouTube, and I mean this by this is streaming video in general, but YouTube specifically, because it was the first in, and kind of not the first in, but it became the dominant platform. It's easy to use. Rumble is here now. It's got that same. It's on the rise. It's been doing great as well. They have other platforms for streaming, so we're starting to see that. So the gun streamers, that entire culture, really has done a lot to create a positive spin. Combine that with video game streaming, things like that, and you have a combination of the First and Second Amendment, which is really unbeatable. And that's how I really got into all of this as well. The enjoyment. And a lot of my friends still to this day, watching Grand Thumb, watching Coleon Noir. And there's always drama and there's always politics when it comes to this. If there are a lot of great people out there in all of these industries. They're all human. They're all normal people. So there's the normal things that you find with humans. There's always interpersonal drama and things like that you'll see in any sort of group. People competing against each other. It's just human nature, right? So but Brandon, I've always seen him as one of those good guys. Like, I've never seen like his ego or anything like that get the better of him, even though he's had, when I met him, he didn't break 1 million yet, and he wasn't running for office. But he still had hundreds of thousands of subs, almost to kind of where he's at now. And was still friends with all the dudes he hangs out with, Demo Ranch, Grand Thumb, all those dudes. And I think they've done a lot of good. I know that, look, you're going to get the grift, I guess you could say. You're always going to find a little bit of a grift. Everybody's got a lot of people have their agenda. When people start making money on stuff, they're always going to have things that you may not like in order to pay the bills and to do cooler stuff. Ultimately, we watch because we enjoy the content. So that's kind of how things are. It's a capitalistic society. Investing in all this stuff is expensive. There are people that do a lot with a little, but even spending the time to do these things, it can take a toll on you. It can take a toll on your personal life, and that's just something that comes with the territory. But that's something that we want to, that's something that just, comes with the territory. And, I wouldn't have it. That's just the way it is. It affords us, these platforms afford us the opportunity to get our voices heard, and we don't really have to spend a dime for the actual hosting of the videos. And I think that's fantastic. And it's allowed us to really expand all of our movements and see that we're not alone. Rebel Scum, you're going to be my example for as long as you're in the chat, because you showed up pretty much on the first day that this stream started, and it's been great to see you in the chat. I'm sorry that I'm not paying attention. I'm going to try to. I'm kind of going off on tangents today, and it's funny because the old man is going to be listening to this, and he's going to critique me for going inside baseball. But you know me, I always try to be as genuine as possible, and I've always had ADD, so I go on rants. I don't have anybody to kind of lasso me back and bring me back. So I tend to, follow those rabbit trails and go down different paths and tangents. But I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you being such a big part of the chat now, because I can see you always having discussions with everybody in there, and Apollo's in there too. Warsaw Patriot. It's awesome. Munchie X Ninja says FPS Russia was his intro. I'm guessing the guns in the Second Amendment. Yeah, it's great. And T-Rex Arms Lucas, he's fantastic. Whether you like his attitude or not, you can't deny the cool things that he's done and some of the work that he does in breaking down and testing firearms and techniques for civilians. And I think that that's something that we've been seeing, kind of the rise of self-sufficiency again. And, I call it, the left always tries to talk about toxic masculinity, but these are kind of positive masculine traits, self-sufficiency, personal responsibility. I think they're really traits that we can all accept. They're not even necessarily, maybe you can call them masculine traits, but they're traits and ideals that anyone can aspire to, man or woman. So it's been good to kind of see that movement, working on your health, working out, learning to use guns, training yourself to protect yourself and your family, wanting to start families in the first place. These are all good things. And it's a good movement at the right time, because we've been seeing a lot more despair and nihilism in our society. And again, this is kind of what you've seen over the last few years, especially with, Biden's presidency. And we're seeing a lot of fear and despair kind of going into this election, from one side or another. And it's important not to lose hope. It's important to see, find people that you can trust, and especially in politics, when you're voting for somebody, or even, if you're preparing for the worst, God forbid, you want to be around people that you can trust, and band together, and encourage people to vote, because that's what we've got. That's our peaceful way of getting our word out. I think that everybody, again, I've talked about it in the past, an Article 25 convention. I think that when we hear Biden talk about a lot of the things that he discusses, like the hoo-ha about the border, the assault weapons ban, like, let's go through the assault weapons ban, because, we're pretty much a Second Amendment. This has always been a Second Amendment channel first. So that really is something that we need to go over. So let's take, for example, let's just go down here. Let's just get a generic picture here. Images. So can you give me one? I mean, this one, that's fine. That's a good generic photo. So let's share this. Key mod. It's fine. I'm being picky here. It is an arrow. There's nothing wrong with that. I've got an arrow. So, let's take, Biden was talking about an assault weapons ban. What are some of the things that supposedly make, and where did this term come from? It was created by the gun control lobby in around the turn of the 80s and 90s to describe weapons that don't exist, but are similar to rifles that may be used in military service. So maybe they use the same kind of operating mechanisms, or they look the same. So we know that the AR-15 was originally developed in the 1950s by Eugene Stoner and Armalite. That's why it's called AR. It's not called assault rifle. So that's one of the common misconceptions that we have, and that gun control advocates will try to throw out there all the time. They'll say, see, it's an assault rifle 15. It's not. No, it's not. It's an Armalite rifle model 15. It was based on the Armalite rifle model 10, which was supposed to, compete or be the successor to the M14, going into, the Vietnam era. At that time, Keymod looks cool. I don't have any Keymod. I've got all M-Lock stuff. It's just easier at this point. But yeah, M-Lock does look cool. I mean, Keymod does look cool. There's no doubt. So, so they started using the term assault weapon to, scare the public and to think like, oh my gosh, this is some sort of thing. Now, I do think that fully automatic weapons should be able to be sold. You know where I stand on the Second Amendment and when it comes to those kinds of restrictions. So without that being said, so I think that the Gun Control Act of 1986, all of that, where you can buy, you can produce new automatic weapons, or, as a purchaser, you had to buy pre-1986 weapons. I don't agree with that whatsoever. So, when we're talking about what makes this gun an assault weapon when there's usually an assault weapon ban, quote unquote. So some of the common features that they'll point out that make this much more dangerous than, let's bring up something else here. Here. This is a good example. Yeah, this is the perfect example right here. I just want it flipped around. Okay. So between something like this was an M1A. This can be chambered in 30865 Creedmoor. I think it can be in a couple of other things, but it's essentially a civilian version of the military's M14. So meaning it shoots semi-automatic. So for those of you that may be unfamiliar, or that you may find this channel in the future, I always like to kind of break things down Barney style, and make it, pretty easy and explicit for people. Actually this is, let's do the M1 Grand instead. M1 Grand. Okay. So let's go with this instead. So this it's an evolution of that. So you can see this uses clips. These are what clips look like. They're not magazines. You feed this over the top, and then it gets ejected at the end with a ping. On this particular rifle, this is an M1 Garand or Garand. I'm not really sure. There's always debate with how to pronounce it. I usually say Garand myself, but. So, this is not considered scary. This was a rifle that was used in military service. You can buy these if you want through the civilian marksmanship program, which is pretty awesome. But this, which is not a military rifle, was never used in military service, is considered an assault weapon. So why is this? So what are some of the differences between these two guns? Oh, look at that. Those are some cool ones. Well, what are some of the differences between these two firearms here? Well, you can see obviously that one has a wooden stock, so that makes it a little bit less intimidating. However, this is a much larger, this is a physically larger weapon. If you're somebody of smaller stature, it may be difficult for you to manipulate this weapon. It's huge, it's wood, it's hefty. It's a little bit unwieldy. So you can see that you have a fixed stock here. You can't really change anything about this. This is what it is. It's a one size fits all. If your size doesn't fit the gun, it's too bad. Like, that's what you get. Maybe they'll give you an M1 carbine, so you get a totally different weapon that's not as effective. If you're lucky, but that's not going to happen. But so here, what makes this dangerous? It's all the features that make this a more convenient weapon, that make you a better shooter. Which, let's be honest, part of being a responsible firearm owner is knowing your target and what's beyond it. So that means you don't want somebody that's an innocent bystander to get hurt, because bullets do go through things. They do. And they can go very far. So you want to make sure that you hit your target and that you don't hit somebody else unintentionally. So these are all things that help assist that. So to make shooting safer for everybody involved. So what are some of these things? A detachable box magazine. So this is better than a clip. It's more durable. It has a higher capacity, which is better because now you have more opportunities to hit your target. So this is a standard capacity magazine of 30 rounds. That's what, all AR-15s come with. You can get magazines that are of a smaller capacity. Really, the reason that you would do that is because, as you can see here, this magazine goes a little bit beyond the grip. So sometimes when you're lying prone on the ground, it can be a little bit inconvenient if you've got the extended magazine. So you may get a smaller magazine with 20 rounds or 10 rounds. If you're hunting in some states like Florida and you're using a semi-automatic rifle, then you have to have a 5-round magazine when you're hunting. It's just the rule. So they have different magazines of different capacities. 20 rounders do look really cool. They look sexy with guns. That's the original. The original M16 came with those 20 round magazines. Now, obviously, the military uses 30 rounders. So that's standard capacity. They'll always try to say that these are high capacity magazines. It's the standard. Like that's 30's default. Like if you go into any gun store in America, if you see any weapon that a military or civilian is using, unless they're in a state that has restricted magazines, the vast majority of them are going to have a 30 round magazine. That's the standard. If you see a handgun, it's going to have anywhere between 15 to 18 rounds per magazine, standard for a larger compact pistol to a full size handgun. You can get higher capacity magazines than that. You can get lower capacity magazines than that. Smaller guns typically have smaller magazines. Smaller bullets usually have higher capacity. Smaller calibers usually have higher capacity. Here's one with, you can see here another one with this is probably a 20 rounder to me. So, to go back what we're saying, so what are some of the features that make this a quote unquote assault weapon? So you're going to have that magazine capacity. They'll say that, this is an extended magazine, the ability to take box magazines because it is easier to reload this because you just remove this, put another one in and, charge the weapon and you're ready to go. If you already have one in the chamber because you did that, a reload that way, then you're just ready to rock and it'll keep going as you pull the trigger. Having an adjustable stock, that's also a feature that is considered an assault weapon feature for whatever reason. Why? Because this allows shooters of different sizes, or if you have different clothes, let's say it's the winter, you got some coats on, it would be a lot more convenient for you to, choke this up a bit and bring it in closer so that you still have the same sight picture with your optics and with your iron sights or your LPVO, whatever you have mounted on the weapon. Having a pistol grip. This is another thing that is considered an assault weapon feature. Why? I don't know. Maybe because they think you can hold it one-handed more easily. It's not practical to hold any weapon one-handed. There are weapons that are much easier to hold one-handed than others, but it really is absurd that you would see something like this. And to hear Biden on his State of the Union just harp on this, talk about assault weapons, how he's going to get an assault weapon ban, how it's going to do it, how he did it before, he's going to do it again. Really, that's the thing. We can talk about everything that he discussed. We can talk about the border, and all the tragedy that is. I've talked about it before. We talked about it last week with Jara, but this is what I really want to focus on today. I want to focus on the Second Amendment, and I want to focus on this and the absurdity of this, and to educate a lot of you on this, because I think this is really what is important here. This is what this has always been about. It has been about, bridging the gap
between people who may love the Second Amendment but may not know that much about what's going on, or maybe have taken it for granted like I did years ago when I first got started on this, and see kind of the insidious ways that they tried to take away our rights. And it really affects those of us that would need these rights the most, because who does it help most that you have things like an adjustable stock? It really helps women and young people, small people, older people, anybody that wears a jacket in the winter. These features too, it's more comfortable to shoot a gun this way. So these things make your ability to use the weapon better. This allows you to aim the weapon better, which means that even though you have a 30-round magazine here, you will hopefully not have to use it. Now, it is possible that you may be dealing with multiple assailants. This happens a lot more than people say. So you would like to have options here. You do not have to use everything that is in this magazine. Most of the time that an AR-15 is used in a defensive situation, or even a police officer uses an AR-15, you'll see that they do not use their entire magazine. Usually not even close. The great thing about this is that it can look intimidating to some people because they don't understand what it is. They're not educated by it. They don't know why they have all these features. It looks cool. It does. Cool can be a little bit intimidating to people that don't understand. So, it's got like all these rails and stuff. Like, I don't know why it's got these things. Like, look, it's like teeth or something there. It's got these holes. It's almost like a radiator. Like, why does it need that? What is that all about? And that's a free floated handguard, by the way, because in the past, with our Garand example, with that wooden stock, you would see this stock would be touching the barrel. The barrel is obviously a hollow piece of metal that has another small piece of metal and an explosion going through it at extremely high speeds, at extremely high pressures, at extremely high temperatures. This is going to cause warping, vibrations, harmonics in that barrel. There's spin. There's rifling inside the barrel. At the beginning of James Bond, you always see that circle that's like around him, and you can see those lines coming around it. You're seeing the inside of a gun barrel is what you're seeing. Those lines are the rifling. That's what gives a bullet its spin and allows it to be more accuracy, fly further. It's like putting a spiral in a football. So you've let's move myself over here. So the less that the barrel touches, the better, because it's not going to interfere with those barrel's harmonics. It's not going to interfere with the flex of the barrel or anything like that. So this barrel is inside here. This handguard doesn't actually touch this barrel at all. They're both connected to the receiver, which is right here, and that allows it to be more accurate. It allows for better heat dissipation, even though this will get really hot, especially with these lightweight handguards. So I still wear a glove anytime that I shoot a rifle, especially for an extended period of time, any firearm really. So the other thing that is a feature of a quote-unquote assault weapon is this. I should say over here, this right here. So this is a muzzle device. This is an A2, a standard A2 flash hider. These things have been around for decades. The older versions had these cutouts all the way around. We found out that wasn't a great thing because you'd get blast underneath. Again, if you're lying prone on the ground, that means that you're getting some blast on the ground that's going to kick up dirt and sand, and that's going to give away your position and obscure some of your vision from that blast. So this reduces the signature of the firearm, the visual signature. So the blast, that's good, because now when you're looking down your sights here, you are not going to get temporarily blinded by your flash. At night, this also helps. Will you still see a flash? Yeah, most of it's going to be mitigated, though, with a good muzzle device. This is not good because now you can't see where somebody's shooting from, so that makes this an assault weapon. So these are all things that they point out, but there are a lot of different guns that have these features. And again, these are features that are good for you and helpful as the shooter. We can't have rifles, assault weapons act. It's going to be detachable box magazines or magazines of a certain capacity. So they will probably cap it at 10 rounds or 15 rounds. Who knows what they'll do, even though that's not standard. And I would say the majority of magazines out there that have been shipped with AR-15s in the last 20 years are going to be 30-round magazines. They're probably going to be Magpul 30-rounders, like PMags. And then you're going to have a lot of like, regular standard steel magazines out there. So you can see where this is going to cause a lot of problems and where this does discriminate against certain types of shooters, because ultimately this is about convenience. That's why these features exist. And there are a lot of features that, yes, maybe they were things that the military used in the past. That doesn't mean that, the civilian market can't benefit from them, or that, people, the public can't benefit from it. So it's ridiculous. Again, when I hear the president of the United States on national television, spew these lies talking about assault weapons and the bane of assault weapons, when that's not the problem that we're having here. The problem that we're having here is that we have a society that has run rampant. We do. We have a president who, when I was re-listening to the State of the Union earlier, and, because, I didn't watch it the first time because I just, I couldn't stand it. I had better things to do. And I was listening to it earlier before the stream, and I just kept getting distracted by the entire time how they could let Joe Biden go up there, because it was constant stuttering. He was mumbling and bumbling his words the entire time. And I was like, this man should not be up there. Like, what is his wife thinking? Why is he here? It was terrible to watch. Like, obviously I disagree with what the man says, especially when it comes to the Second Amendment, when it comes to his border policies, when it comes to the economy, his entire handling of everything these last few years, pretty much the withdrawals from Afghanistan. I just don't understand how that doesn't make America look bad, how that doesn't make America look weak, that they know that the president of the United States can barely get through this speech without every, couple dozen words, he's stumbling on it. And it was very distracting. And normally I'm like, whatever, you give people it was constantly the energy that he had. And it's just, we've been seeing this, and it's been more and more prevalent as time has gone on, and the Democratic Party and the media have not been able to hide it. And it's pretty ridiculous. It's absurd. And we're going to get more and more of these policies, because ultimately Biden is not the one that's running his administration right now. It's pretty clear he's not capable of doing it. Will they keep running him? I don't know. But these are policies that we have to push against. Like, let's be honest, because these are all features that are logical, that make weapons easier to use, that make them more convenient to use, and that are better for the shooter. I think, again, going back to the NFA, having a shorter barrel, that's not better for the weapon itself necessarily. You'll get a little bit more recoil. The shooting dynamics for an AR-15 of a certain barrel length for 5.56 ammo, it's just not going to work very well with a smaller barrel. But you do get the benefit of less weight, which again would benefit the shooter. This is an option that's not really given out there anymore. You can get a brace pistol now, so that is a good thing. But we really need the NFA to be completely removed, so that we can have stocks on rifles with shorter barrels than 16 inches and not have to register them. So these are the things that we have to work towards. These are the things every day that we need to wake up and really deal with. It's the truth. We can't, we have to be educated in all this stuff. We have to be able to explain these things. I've done this before in person. I've done this with many people over the years, kind of explaining these things about firearms. It's something I'm going to keep doing to educate people, because it's extremely important, because you have to demystify this stuff. We have to demystify this stuff, because too many people about everything, I have discussions all the time with people that I care about. And sometimes the discussions can get a little bit heated, but I always love that. I love having, heated debates with people that I know. Afterwards, we're going to be fine. It's not going to be a big deal. We still care about each other. And, talking about politics, educating one another, challenging one another, that's important. We need to, iron sharpens iron. We need to be ready for all these things. So we have to educate each other on these things. We have to be, teachers of freedom. And it's important to not lose sight, not take things for granted. I'm coming full circle now. So we've talked about the State of the Union. We've talked about Biden. We've talked about why these things are important. Assault weapon bans. We have to be able to articulate this to normal people. It's not difficult. It really isn't. Guns are not any technology that's really new at this point. This is based on a rifle that was invented in the late 1950s. Like, that's it. It really hasn't changed very much. I could take most rifles built in around that time and switch parts between them interchangeably. So we really need to wake up to those things and educate ourselves and again have patience and empathy, because a lot of people, they're just afraid. They don't know. They hear things said by talking heads on social media, on the news, by politicians, and they don't know what to think. They're afraid. Terrible things happen all the time. There's no doubt about this. A lot of times the laws that are already in place by the government could have helped prevent a lot of these things. Some of them, there's nothing you can do. Jared and I talked about that last week, how there are a lot of people that they commit horrible acts and it's the first time that they've ever done it. There's nothing we can do about that. How would you prevent that? That would be almost, you need a minority report type of system, some sort of pre-crime. And then, that's pretty dystopian. That's awful. Nobody wants that. So, that's where the rubber meets the road. We have to be able to dissect these arguments, call out the lies, educate people in a way that they can understand easily, and bring different groups together. And a lot of times that's through entertainment. It really is through entertainment and sharing values. So, we love video games here. I stream video games all the time. I'm probably going to have to spin the channel because the algorithm seems like it's been pretty crazy lately. I like, we've got around 40 people watching here, but we'll see the views because I've been seeing my views drop. And I don't mean episode to episode. That has happened. I'm not really sure what's going on. I know that we had a couple of times where we had to change the times of the show. Last week we were late because unfortunately we got the time zones mixed up. But we, I always like to bring both of those sides together to show that you can be a nerd, you can love those things, you can have a passion about it, and you can be a nerd about history, about freedom, about guns, and believe in those things and want to be able to express your opinion and do so in a way that you feel comforted. And it's not the, not an echo chamber. We don't want echo chambers. And we also don't want safe spaces, quote unquote. And that's for either side, because I do get concerned sometimes with the right, because it feels like a lot of the right is turning into, there's a lot of people that are taking advantage and grifting. There's sometimes too much desperation from the right. I say right loosely, that anytime that there's somebody that is not typical right wing or may have been on the left and then they flipped, we don't necessarily question if they're authentic or not. I do believe in giving people the benefit of the doubt, but we're too quick to jump on the bandwagon. Sometimes it's just like, okay, well, whatever. Welcome to the party. You can go ahead and hang out. We'll see how you are. So we need to be careful with things like that. and ultimately, just be accepting of certain things. Always be skeptical, but never be afraid to educate. I think that's the biggest thing we sometimes take for granted. And, kind of straddling the line between two different things. Like, you guys ask me so many questions. I'm going to take some time now before I do the second half of the show, because one of the things that's really difficult when you do the show alone, and, as time goes along, I'd love it for you guys to, smash the like button, share the show with your friends and family, and spread the word of what we talk about here. And, it'll get more difficult, but I really want to pay attention to what you guys have to say in the chat. So I'm going to take a few minutes now that we're like kind of at the hour mark. We'll read over some of the chats, and then I'll talk about how kind of the NRA has been the focus for so many years of the media and of, of the left, politicians, gun grabbers, whatever you want to call it. I know I hate using blanket terms, but the National Shooting Sports Foundation has actually passed them in the amount of money that they give to the cause and to lobby for the Second Amendment. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And then, I want to talk about, I kind of want to close the show with a little bit of fun and talking about Bioshock. So I think, cause I decided to stream Bioshock yesterday, and I think that it's a fantastic social commentary. So I can see a Munchie Ninja. I don't feel like I've seen you here before. Yes, M14 does have a 308. AR-10 has a 308 as well. Shoots a 308. So going back to what we were talking about in the discussion. Let's go here. Cossacks equal Russian cowboys. We're going back to Dirty Jersey. Sorry, I'm trying to go through the chat. Wayfair, you actually understood the Rambler in Chief. I did, says Apollo in the chat. I understood some of what he said, but usually I just kind of like laughed at it. But it was a laugh that was followed with deep, deep sorrow for the fact that this is our president of the United States, and he's like stumbling over everything, and it makes me sad ultimately. So I was crying for myself and the fact that I'm here right now, and I have to deal with this. I'm being facetious and dramatic. Rebel Scum says, comic misconceptions. I have ADHD, so I understand how that goes. I've got ADD. It's always an issue. This is part of why I go on ramblings and tangents and things like that. So I'm all over the place sometimes. So I try not to script myself. And, I always like to be extemporaneous. That's kind of where my thought process lies. If I script it too much, it's not going to work the same way I've seen for me. So despite the advice that some people give me, I'm never going to fully script the show. I'll always have my bullet points here that I want to do it. But once I get in it, I'm going in it. Like, I may not necessarily hit all the points all the time, but I will hit the main ones. And then we'll go on a journey along the way, and that's always fun. So Rebels Come says, I wrote a story called Them Versus Us after Biden's speech in Philadelphia, where he denounced that was the one with the red lights behind him. It looked like the Empire or the First Order kind of thing, where he denounced Trump voters as fascists, red in the background of his speech, and the Marines behind him. Yeah, it was bad imagery all around. It looked really martial and, very negative and authoritarian. It just, it wasn't great. Rebels Come also, I'm writing a story, Revenge Horror, that is a guy, and the guy's a clown and talks about a two-tier justice system and corruption. There you go. Night Train says, Henry Kissinger, the illegal we do immediately. The unconstitutional takes a little longer. That is true. To James the Elite fan, that's exactly what they want, to have the common people fearful and despondent. Yes, they want to take away our hope. So we do have to have our fun along the way. We do have to have positivity. I can tell you that over the last few months, despite some of the terrible things that may have happened, along the way, I've been laughing more than I have in years, and I've been enjoying myself. And I think you just have to find those ways to do it. and you have to, make the time, to do those things, and to try to see the forest through the trees. Am I going to play the Stalker trilogy? I did hear it was coming out. I want to know where it is. Is it supposed to be coming out on Xbox One Car Fast? I would love to know. Warsaw Patriot says, well, when was the last time we as schools did the Pledge of Allegiance and have an American flag in the room? I don't know. We did it when I was around. I graduated high school in the early 2000s. So, 2005, 2006 years. So we still did it back then, but at the same time, I don't know how much longer that stopped. Drinking my coffee. Oh, you sent me a Rumble rant. Thank you, JM the Elite. I'm sorry. I totally forgot about Rumble. I appreciate you, JM the Elite fan, with the $25 Rumble rant. Appreciate all you do, bro. Hail the Royal Rumblers. Entertainment recommendation, an anime called Akiba Maid War. It's about a Japanese maid cafe engrossed in a Bloods versus Crip turf war. It is badass AF. That sounds really hilarious. JM the Elite fan. That sounds awesome. I'll have to check it out. It has been a minute since I've watched me some anime, and I do miss it. I haven't had the opportunity to watch as much stuff lately. I didn't even watch the Halo series like I wanted to. I am going to watch, and this is where I'm going to go on a tangent now, because this does make me this does remind me that we've got the Fallout TV series, which is coming out soon. And I should have just done a trailer reaction, but we'll just do it live. We'll do this as part of the show. We talk about a lot of different things here. The beginning of this show was probably like one of the longest rants that I've ever had, because let's be honest, that was a cold opening and I just went for it. Talked about some of the things I wanted to talk about, but that was a continuous line of thought for like an hour and 10 minutes. That's absurd. That's absolutely absurd. I shouldn't be allowed to do those things. I shouldn't be allowed to do that. That's insane. Like who, there's no one here to stop me. I'm bouncing off the walls. I'm going crazy. I don't know what to do with myself. This is what happens. The rants just never end. They never end. They keep getting longer. They keep getting crazier. They're going to get more intense. And then I find new things to talk about to prevent myself from talking about the things that I am supposed to talk about. All thumbs, what is up? So let's talk about that Fallout TV series trailer, because I am completely up in the air with this one. This is something that I really want to watch. I liked Fallout 3, loved New Vegas. I did like Fallout 4. I am even one of the few people that, as a Bethesda fan, obviously I loved Skyrim. Didn't play the earlier ones. I'll be honest. I did not play the earlier Elder Scrolls games. Did not have the chance. Skyrim was my first introduction to that franchise, which I know it's travesty, but I was playing other things at the time. Give me a break. My competitive shooter career was in full swing at the time. I was never like a professional or anything like that, but you know what I'm talking about. I was playing all the time. So, Fallout's one of my favorite franchises. I like Bethesda games. And people will get mad at me about this. I really don't care. I enjoyed Starfield. I got past the pronouns, went through that. I've enjoyed the game. I still go back and keep playing that same file every once in a while. I like the gameplay loop. It's not the best game that Bethesda's ever made. I wish they had made different design choices and narrative choices for certain things. And the pronoun thing is obviously bullshit to me. I hate it, but I enjoyed the game. So I can't say anything else. 76. I want to try. Cervesa says you like 76. That's a lot of people didn't like it. I would like to try it out, but let's check out the trailer for Fallout. I think the TV series. I'll probably get like hit for music or something, but we'll see. Like I think it'll be fun. It'll be fine. So or we can keep it low or muted. So because it's definitely got music.
I'm here to show you a wonderful place.
They've got the aesthetic is totally perfect here. I mean, this looks just like any of the vaults that you'd see in Fallout 4, especially. It's the TVs look the same, the computer terminals, the hallways, all of that is the same. It's pretty spot on. So the look is down. This is obviously taking place in California, which we haven't seen yet in the newer Fallout, in the Bethesda Fallout games. I have not played Fallout 1 and 2. I know that some people will be disappointed to hear that. They call the newer Fallout games fake outs, not real. Even the way that the vault door opens. I want to know more about our main character. In Fallout, you can obviously create your own character. So you can be a man or a woman. Doesn't matter. In the last game you chose, you had 2 voice actors. A lot of times you have a silent protagonist. So we'll see what her deal is. Really? That's funny. Huh. So you've got your Vault Boy there from Vault Tech.
Holy shit. You're an actual vault dweller.
I am. I thought all you dipshits were dead.
So Jonathan Nolan, Christopher Nolan's younger brother. Obviously, this is Amazon. This song will probably like gig the show, but this show's not monetized anyway, so it probably doesn't matter. So there we've got a ghoul. Ghouls are humans that have been transformed by radiation. They basically become like immortal zombies. Some of them are actual like mindless zombies. Some of them have retained their consciousness and intelligence. So I think the ghoul looks fine. I know some people thought like I wanted him to look a little bit grungier or more messed up, but you know, Fallout TV show Rebel Scum doesn't like it. I mean, I think it looks spot on. Like I think it really does look exactly like Fallout, and I think it's got it's like I said, it's got the aesthetic down. It looks like Fallout. It seems like it's got some of the quirkiness of Fallout with some of the seriousness. So that's the question, though. Are they going to make it woke? Yes. Are they going to make it woke? So this will be one of the few shows that, you know, I'll give it a chance. I love seeing the airship, the Pridwin. I don't know how they're going to incorporate this because depending on your arc in Fallout 4, this may or may not exist. I don't know if this is going to be before or after Fallout 4. They've said some things about like this is essentially going to be Fallout 5. That kind of scares me a little bit. We've got the vertibirds here. Those are their tilt rotor, tilt rotor VTOL aircraft of that time period from the Great War period. So these are aircraft that have now been around for more than 200 years. So, you know, this is all good. You've got the dog, the call out to that. You've got over-the-top weapons and violence and all this stuff. So, to me, that looks cool. I mean, I'll be honest. To me, it looks pretty good. It looks like it's got potential. Where will they throw the woke social commentary? I don't know. And this is Amazon. This is the studio that brought us Rings of Power and, Wheel of Time and destroyed both of those beloved franchises and made a mockery and squandered the opportunities that they had given to them to create something really incredible. And it seems like when they have a really prominent and established IP, Amazon destroys it. When it's a little bit more niche, it seems to do better. So the Terminal List and the Jack Reachers, those are fantastic. They try to stay pretty true to the source material. They're not woke at all. They're politically incorrect or they're realistic. So where is Fallout going to fall on that spectrum? I don't know. And that's the concern, obviously, here. Has Amazon learned from what they saw with those two? Was this already in the oven when this came out? I don't know. I really don't know where we're at with all that. It just seems to me like Amazon is going to be a hit or miss here. So that's all there is to it. What will happen here, I don't know. This is one that I will watch though, and I will give my commentary on because Fallout's something that I care about. It's one of those franchises that I've always loved, and I'm willing to give this one a shot. So what do you guys think? We know how Rebel Scum thinks. Rebel Scum ain't having it. She ain't having it. I can see that, and that's okay. But that's what fandom's all about, right? If this does well and it's a pretty good portrayal of Fallout and it doesn't, try to wokeify things, I'll give it the praise it's due. If it's total garbage and crap, then we will eviscerate it. And I think this is a kind of a good time to go over and kind of talk about Bioshock. So yesterday, I decided to, because I think video games really do a good job of. They're the ultimate medium. And for some reason, I had double ears here. I don't know what happened. It was kind of freaking me out. And we'll have this, kind of playing in the background, just with me not doing anything. So, Bioshock really is one of my favorite video game franchises of all time. It's one that I will always go back to and replay. I've replayed these games, especially the first one, probably a dozen times at least at this point. And yesterday, I just kind of felt like it. I was talking with somebody and telling them how much this game means to me. They'd never played the game before, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to stream the game. You need to check it out. And I saw that there were a lot of people in the chat that had never played Bioshock before, and it was created by 2K Games back in the day, and in 2007, Ken Levine was really he was the brainchild of it. The systems. It was based on kind of some of the systems of the System Shock titles that came out previously. I'd never played those myself, but they were beloved franchises, and so it took kind of that simulation system and brought it here with a story that's a social commentary about basically unrestricted and immoral, basically free market run wrong. And with the city at the bottom of the ocean. And I remember playing this on Xbox 360 when it came out. And I think that you guys have to really try it. You have to try it, James, the Elite fan. Like Bioshock really is one of the best. So, and I think that, this game really encompasses everything that you
Sounds very creepy to me.
love about about gaming itself and what it is to gaming is art, because you can see the level design in this game, the everything from the advertisements to the gameplay loop, the world building, the story, everything that is going on here, the characters that we have here, the guns and modifying the guns. It's a lot of fun. The gunplay is not as tight as other games. It could be better. It can be a little bit clunky, but it's still a lot of fun to play. And then the endless hacking mini game, of course, because it's always there. I feel like I'm always doing that. So it really is one of those games that defined an era, and it defined what storytelling in a first-person shooter was. I think Half-Life started that. Half-Life 2 obviously carried the mantle. This really brought atmospheric gameplay to the console space for me. And in a shooter, no less. So, and, having a feeling of choice. CDV says, have I played, Warsaw Patriot says, have I played Atomic Heart? I've not played that yet. It is on Game Pass. I may try it one day when I have a chance. CDV asks, Puerto Rican Pistolero, what do you think about the Bioshock series they're supposedly creating? Are you looking forward to a gaming sequel? If the team is not involved, I will be reluctant about it, because we've seen what's happened with remakes and how that can go. But I think that if you've got the team, doing it, you have a shot. But I think we've told the story of Rapture pretty well. I think that Prey is another game that's very good. Prey from 2017, I believe, or 2016. It felt a lot like Bioshock on a base on the moon, and it gave kind of that feel. I think that just building the systems, building the atmosphere, that sense of dread that you have, because it's kind of almost like a pseudo horror game in a way. It's very creepy. It has its moments. The music is fantastic. Just everything, the detail, the audio logs. This is one of those games where you really want to try to absorb everything that it gives you. And I think it does a great job of telling its story in one go. Like, it'll take you maybe, less than 20 hours to fully beat this game for sure. A lot less than that in many cases. And it doesn't matter. You feel fulfilled and you appreciate the experience that you had with this game. Fear is another good franchise, Tom. How's it going, man? So I don't want them to. I really, Charles, I don't think that I would like a sequel to Bioshock or anything else. I think it's fantastic. I'm going to continue to play this series going forward, and I'm going to finish the game for you guys, because I know that a lot of you haven't seen this game before, and it's crazy to think that it came out so many years ago now. 2007 is 17 years ago. It'll be this year, and it's insane that now we have games that are basically historic. This has now reached the level of, this is a historic game, and sometimes I take for granted that we have people on both sides of gaming generations, because we've seen, people like my father, who got me into video games for the first time, kind of fell out of playing video games for years, got back into it with the newer generations of consoles. And, because I saw Greg said he never played the game before. I know Greg is around my dad's age. So you hadn't seen it before. I've seen other people that said, that one I missed. Or that was before my time, and the opposite side of things. So it's great to be able to share that. And this is kind of one of those games that you can watch. It's conducive to watching. It's a fun game to play, though I would encourage anyone to play it. You can always find it on sale on Xbox right now. You can get all 3 games for $10. It's crazy. If you want to play it on PC, unfortunately, it's not on sale, but it usually drops to that on Steam. And it's just great. What the story that it tells, talking about pretty much capitalism run rampant without any restrictions or morality. And it kind of accentuates the point. It's not, I wouldn't say it's anti-capitalistic. It's more anti-excess. This game deals with the indulgences and the excess of humanity, excess power, excess desire, excess greed, excess desire to expand and push art, push boundaries, morality, all of those things. That's really what this game is all about. Excess, over the top, and not giving a damn about your fellow man. So I think it's great. I think it's great. I will play it again this week. I will finish it out this week. We'll move on to Bioshock 2. Maybe I'll make this a staple of our Saturdays, where that'll be the bulk. Saturday mornings, we'll play a single player game together that we can go through, one that I love, or some co-op games. And we'll make that more of a story. We can talk about it on this show the next day, and that'll be kind of our thing. And I'll give you guys some recommendations, because I really do love this. I love Mass Effect. I love the Halo franchise. And it seems like those are games now that have gotten old enough that a lot of people haven't played them. And a lot of them are on Game Pass or other services, or are on sale. They've been revived or remastered, or they look great on modern devices. So you can go back and it's not too difficult or to get them to run or anything like that. So you have options. And it's fantastic. So I think that, some people, excess science meets excess greed. Yeah. So that's where it goes. And that's pretty much where it is. Well, it's about excess. We are over-regulated, rebel scum. We are definitely, for sure. But again, I think that part of where we're at is that we've lost, that sense of morality too. So this is what happens when you go in kind of the opposite extreme. And I don't think there's any problem. Art should be able to tell the story, even if it's stories about, that you may not like or agree with, but it's a unique perspective, and I always appreciate that. So go ahead and check out Bioshock. I'll be streaming more of it on this channel, and I think that you guys will all enjoy it a lot. And I encourage you to give it a whirl, or to hang out with me as I stream it. Go back and watch yesterday's stream. It was a little bit over 3 hours. The first 3 hours of the game. I am playing on hard mode, so I'm dying a little bit more than I usually would. I may pare it back. Well, once I get my good stuff, I'll be fine. But I'll probably go through the other two games on regular, normal difficulty, just to be able to go through, focus on the story. So I'm going to play Bioshock 2. I'm going to play Infinite. I love both of those games. I would, love to see you all there as we go along, and we'll talk about them. And I really want to see how you guys feel about the games. That's what I really want to see. I want to know your opinions if you've never played them before. And I think that would be a lot of fun to have that discussion about what we think, how it makes us feel, the story, and whether we agree with it or what we liked and what we disliked about it. And I think that makes for a great, a great discussion. And it allows us to talk about things that we're passionate about and love. I think that's there's never a dull moment when you do those kinds of things. So love Bioshock. Really, I would encourage you guys to go back and check it out. Now, let's see. This is where I fail myself sometimes, and that I do not have these things. Oh, never mind. I do. Okay, cool. So this time I did have it ready. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about the gun rights organization here that has taken the NRA's lunch. I saw this article, and it really made my heart swell. It really did, because it's great to see that the NRA no longer has the monopoly on the Second Amendment and Second Amendment advocacy. So that's freaking great. I love it. I really do. I freaking love it. So let's talk about this and let's read it. And it's from the Daily Mail. All right. We got the Brits up in here today. Zoom this in a little bit more. Okay. The gun lobby group spending twice as much as the NRA to protect the Second Amendment. The National Shooting Sports Foundation forks out $5 million on gun lobbying each year and schmoozes governors at expos under their lifelong firearms expert CEO. The NSSF, a U.S. trade firm, spent more than $5.4 million on gun lobbying in 2023. Compare that to the NRA's $2.3 million, and it's clear that there's been a power shift. CEO Joe Bartazzi spoke about the spending at their annual trade event this year. There's a new top gun advocate in town, and it's spending more than twice as much as the NRA. The NSSF is not new at all. It's been around for a long time. John Smith, yes, you got me there. I love him. I really do. I know some people don't like some of these groups because they ask for a lot of money. That's what we need to fight the legal battles. Like, that's just the way it is. We have you got no other choice. So the National Shooting Sports Foundation is an American national trade firm that forked out more than $5.4 million on federal lobbying last year. Compare that to the NRA's $2.3 million, and it's apparent that there's been a shift in the firearms industry. The former first-place firearms advocate spent nearly $5 million in 2021 and even more in previous years, but that money has since trailed off. Meanwhile, The NSSF has upped its spending, reaching close to $5 million each of the past 4 years, after gaining a great deal of traction since its start in 1961. As an organization that helps write safety and instruction standards for lawmakers to protect the Second Amendment and to keep guns out of the wrong hands. The group has more than 8,000 members after starting solely for hunting and recreational purposes. It has since surfaced as an entity unable to be ignored after supplanting its longtime, currently embattled counterpart on Capitol Hill. The association's CEO spoke about the group's increased spending at a trade event in January, flanked several Republican governors who support their cause. I'm guessing they meant flanked by. All right, and then they've got an unnecessary graph just to visually see the size of what these amounts correspond to for people that don't understand numbers. I always think that when you have a chart or something like this, it's pretty absurd because it should be fairly obvious what is trying to be said here. But, you know, what is it? I guess I shouldn't have hope for mankind. I'm Joe Bartazzi, president and CEO of the National Shooting Sports Foundation. The exec told a crowded room in Vegas at the group's annual governors forum at their now famed SHOT Show. The executive addressed governors from states like Arkansas, Georgia, Wyoming, each of whom had to say about their efforts to fight for the Second Amendment and to protect and promote the firearm industry in each of their states. For more than an hour, the governors, Nevada's Joe Lombardo, Montana's Greg Gianforte, Arkansas' Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Nebraska's Jim Pillen, Wyoming's Mark Gordon, Idaho's Brad Little, and Georgia's Brian Kemp spoke about the legislative climate in their states as the NRA continues to cut back to combat waning revenue. They also discussed what they constituted as the Biden administration's continued attacks on the firearm industry through executive overreach, punishment through lawfare, and efforts to suffocate and bankrupt an already regulated industry. Each had a lot to say, and the event was moderated by another senior NSSF staffer and board member and senior vice president and general counsel, Lawrence G. Keene. Like events in the past, there were laughs and an audience Q&A that looked to be a huge success, indicative of the success the association has seen since its start decades ago as an authority on hunting and recreational shooting. Previously attended by presidents like Jimmy Carter, the NSSF's celebrated shows have grown in size along with the firm, which allows buyers to peruse state-of-the-art firearms that are proudly put on display. Designed to load retailers and range operators with such equipment, the expos also offer strategies and inspiration for participating proprietors essential for success, all with a free, less confrontational approach than the notoriously no-compromise NRA. These zombie targets look pretty amazing. They've got to be really expensive, though. They really do. Oh, see. So these guys run SHOT Show. Just for anybody that doesn't know, SHOT Show is the largest firearms trade show in the entire world, and it's a lot of fun to go to. Hopefully, I will be able to go next year for the first time in since 2020. That'll be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing the NSSF continue to grow. These are just some of the different trade shows you've got over the years. The stems from the NSSF's increased regulatory focus and partnerships with federal agencies it may not necessarily agree with. With this in mind, the Connecticut-based group resists comparisons to the long-looming gun group, billing itself as a trade association that merely represents gun manufacturers, retailers, and other business interests, not gun owners themselves. The NRA, meanwhile, does and has struggled with declining membership and revenue over the past decade. As a result, this, combined with the litany of internal scandals, including its longtime leader Wayne LaPierre being found liable for corruption last month, has forced the group to reduce its federal lobbying expenditures, leaving room for the NSSF to expand. And expand it has. The NSSF's spending towards gun rights last year coming more than any other gun rights expenditure in history. CEO Bartazzi, whose 6-year tenure is responsible for most of this growth, credited these successes, typo, sorry, to an outsized amount of firearm sales in recent years, even with the Biden administration combating it. Appearing on Tom Gresham's Gun Talk Radio over the summer, he cited how it's been 4 years straight of 1 million or more FBI National Instant Criminal Background Check System, NICS verifications process for the sale of a firearm. He told Gresham of the stretch, it shows that people are serious about their Second Amendment rights and there's something going on. People are discovering or rediscovering not only recreational shooting and hunting, but this issue of self-defense. Bartazzi spent the majority of his life in the firearms industry. He became the chairman of the board of directors of the Sporting Arms and Ammunition Manufacturers Institute. So AMC, yeah, I'm guessing. Or Sammy. I was thinking of ANSI, like on the engineering side. The treasurer member of the NSSF Board of Governors. He's also a certified range safety officer, me too, and was nominated for the 2013 Person of the Year by Shop Business Magazine. That's kind of funny. Larry Keane, NSSF's chief lobbyist who moderated the January event, also recently added how the group is dedicated to protecting the exercise of a constitutional right of the individual as opposed to the businesses benefiting from them. The product is firearms. There's no divorcing the politics from the product. Keane recently said in a sit down, the mission has drawn several big names in the industry like Robert L. Scott of Smith & Wesson and Jeff Ray of Beretta to the group's board of governors. Through their donations, the group hopes to gain headway in its main mission, the continued defense of the Second Amendment. Some recent efforts it has thus deemed as a threat has been Biden administration's attempt to require universal background checks for all gun purchases, as well as a simultaneous attempt to crack down on untraceable, quote-unquote, ghost guns that people build themselves. As they work towards this goal, they believe presenting themselves as a more pragmatic player as opposed to the NRA will benefit these bids. Meanwhile, the NRA continues to taper away from gun-related expenditures, even as laws they deem to be unnecessary continue to make their way through the state and federal legislature. Such laws, many of them still only a thought, include a federal bid to restrict the use of traditional ammunition on national wildlife refuges, and an effort, refugees? No, it would be refuges. Man, this article has a lot of typos. And an effort started by Andrew Sorkin of the New York Times and Amalgamated Bank to push for emergent category codes for all gun purchases. So essentially, when you purchase a firearm, ammunition, or anything like that, the credit card companies will make a record of it. And, the government or anybody else will be able to, that has access to that, will know that you bought gun-related stuff, which is BS. It violates your privacy. At January's governor event, Keane commented on the prospective guidance that would see the government force sellers to apply 4-digit numbers to individual purchases that can be traced by officials at their... I don't know. See, again, another typo. You used to have to worry about what's in your wallet. Now you're going to have to worry about who's in your wallet, he told the gubernatorial group in January. It's going to lead to the banks being able to look inside the customer's checkout basket and deny sales because that's the wrong kind of firearm. It's a real concern for the industry about that. And we've seen California now pass a lot of mandate its use. To mandate its use. This is like an AR generated article. Meanwhile, despite its rampant spending, the firearm group has repeatedly denied it's trying to replace the NRA and maintains that its mission to ensure gun safety is genuine and not deep-rooted in partisan politics. This has got to be AI generated, man. This has got to be. This really had way too many typos, but it got the content across, which is the NSSF is doing a lot of great work. The NRA is on the decline. So we have to support organizations like this, like the Gun Owners of America, like the Second Amendment Foundation, FPC, Firearms Policy Coalition. So, to really protect our Second Amendment rights, sue the government and all these gun control groups for, violating our God-given rights and trying to, take away our possessions and criminalize, good Americans who are just trying to defend themselves. Ultimately, that's what it comes about. Man, stubbed my toe. Sorry. I was not surprised. I was surprised by that. That was like stepping on a Lego. This is great. This is great to hear because for years, the NRA has kind of been a thorn in our side. It really has, because it really did not push the initiatives that it needed to in a lot of respects. We knew that there was a lot of corruption within the leadership, and it was a detriment to the Second Amendment as a whole with the image that it portrayed. So I'm glad to see other organizations are taking up the mantle, either in the industry side or in legal battles against, oppressive laws that would do us harm ultimately. So it's great. Support these organizations. Donate to them if you can. I donate to FPC and GOA, and I think that they do some great work. Follow them on social media. Stay up to date with a lot of these illegal battles and cases. You won't regret it. And I think that there are a lot of great things ahead. When it comes to this, we've been making a lot of progress with the Second Amendment. Biden's going to try to push this assault weapons ban. It's not going to go anywhere. AR-15s are common use weapons at this point. Like if you're talking a semi-automatic rifle that somebody owns, it's going to be a 10/22 and an AR-15. Like that's pretty much what you've got. And there'll be a lot of AKs too. So I would throw them up there. And that's pretty much your bog standard, reliable semi-automatic rifle system in the United States. That's going to be probably 80% of what you're going to see, maybe even more. As far as it comes to that, especially shooting, a non-rim fire cartridge. So they can try to ban them all they want. It's not going to work. And magazines, all that stuff, that's not going to make any difference. It really isn't. What we need to do is the difficult things, which is improving our investigative work, hardening and protecting our schools and children in sensitive areas, giving people the opportunities to defend themselves, encouraging responsible and proper gun ownership and use, because you want to encourage people to practice, to become proficient, so that if they are in a bad situation, they don't panic and they know what they need to do, and they feel confident with the firearm that they have on them to be able to neutralize whatever threat they face. And so we need to do these things. It's an all of the above solution. We need to encourage more personal responsibility, because ultimately, yes, with great power comes great responsibility. A firearm is dangerous. Yes, it is. We try to sugarcoat things, blah, blah, blah. No, it's dangerous. It's a device that that was built for a purpose, and it's effective at that. So we need to be responsible with it. We need to be proficient with it. And we need to encourage people to be proficient with it. We don't need regulations to force people to be proficient. I don't believe in that either. But we do want to create a culture of responsibility, because ultimately we get the politics at the end, we get the politics with the culture that we put in it. That's really what it is. So we have to create a culture that is mature, that isn't afraid of owning guns, that knows how to handle guns, that's responsible with them, and that's willing to protect themselves. That's not something the government wants. They're not going to encourage that. But that's the movement that we're building here. That's what we want. That's our goal at the end of the day, to do something positive and to be the positivity. And that's why we have to show restraint. Let's go back several episodes here and go back to restraint, because we do have a lot of power. We do have a lot of responsibility here. We have to show the restraint, because ultimately they will try anything they can to demonize us. They really will. And the more educated that we are, the better that we are at educating people that don't know, the more successful we'll be. Because I know I've gotten it so much throughout the years of people that can't believe that I'm a gun guy, or can't believe that they're like, man, I'm friends with you. You seem like a normal dude. And I was like, I don't know what normal is, but I'm not like, I'm not a crazy guy that wants to harm other people. Not at all. I'm somebody that has empathy, that wants to educate other people, that wants people to be self-sufficient, have the ability to help themselves. And if I can help you get there, I'll do it. I don't feel that the government should force me to have to do it. I think that we have to try to live and lead by example. Ultimately, that's what we try to do, because that's how you really encourage change in society. You can force people, that's just going to make them resent you and push back even harder. It'll create a black market. It will create more negativity in society. It'll dumb down the society. Ultimately, yes, we need to encourage people to take more control of their own lives, but we have to give them the opportunities to do so. And, you know, there are just ways where the government can get out of the way with that. And they need to. And then there are other ways where the government needs to reduce its size so that it can do other things that actually help the American people. You know, instead of being all over the world all the time, we can secure our own border and bring a lot of that money back to the United States and rebuild this country, give opportunities to Americans, and rebuild our cities, give people a better work ethic, and encourage them to succeed on their own. And that's what we need to do. We need to build a culture of self-sufficiency where the government is doing essentially our bidding and we're not doing the bidding of the government. And that's the way that it's supposed to be. You know, governments are a necessary evil, but they have to work for the people. The people are not the ones working to sustain the government. It's not like that. You know, it's supposed to be an apparatus here that helps facilitate the unification of a society, not be an authoritarian, a nanny that's beating us over the head anytime that we do things that it doesn't like. So, yes, of course, Jane the Elite Fan says, firearms are dangerous in their own right. They do things on their own. No, it comes down to people. So we have to be the society worthy of our freedoms as well. You know, we have to take up that mantle. And that means that we're always going to be at a disadvantage. We are, because we are trying to be responsible. We want to live our lives. People that go to work every day, that take care of their families, that, you know, you may need a little bit of help. You're working extra shifts. You're working paycheck to paycheck. You need more. You do want that freedom, but you may not have the time to be engaged. You know, we have to do the work. We have to work to help each other, help ourselves, and ultimately, you know, take this country in the direction that we want. So that's where we're at. That's where we really are at today. And how will you take up the mantle? What will you do? Will you share this show? Will you share some of the things that you've learned? I was being self-serving there. You can share the show if you want. I appreciate it. Rumble, thank you so much for working today. I think this is awesome. We had like 4 people watching there, and I'm pretty sure I did the thing on Rumble where it doesn't actually show it on the channel that has the followers. It shows it on the account. But the quality looked fantastic. JM, the Elite Fan, thanks again for the $25 super chat. The last thing that I had on the docket here was something that I'm actually a little bit disappointed that has not been talked about as much. And I guess that's because actual serious shit is going on in the world, and people don't have time for fun memes anymore. But I saw it. It made me feel good about Star Wars again, at least for a few minutes. And that was this whole Cervesa Cristal thing with these Star Wars in Chile back in the day. And it just like blew my mind. It just blew my mind. So for those of you that don't know, let's bring it up. Let's see what the original thing is here. So many moons ago in 2003, I believe, it was Star Wars was being broadcast on network television in Chile for the first time, and they didn't want to mess up the films by having, you know, real commercial breaks. So they're trying to find the best way to do this. They had a sponsor called Cervesa Cristal, and they figured, you know what we'll do? We will integrate the ads into the movies so that this can be totally seamless. And you might ask yourself, how the hell does that seem? So this is pretty much how it worked, and I think it speaks for itself. It's pretty hilarious, and it makes me die laughing. It really does. So this is all of them together. It's about 2 minutes long. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, and then we'll have some fun. You know, the world is a serious place. You know, in the past I'm always cynical. I'm a realist about something. I can be a typical, as many women in my life have told me throughout the years, a cynical Capricorn in a lot of ways. But I'm trying to be a lot more positive, and that's what I've wanted to do as I've created this show and kind of taken this new journey in my life, you know, as the Puerto Rican pistolero. So you're always going to get my honest opinion on things, but I've definitely changed. I've become a little bit more optimistic, even though I can talk about terrible things that I think that may happen in this world. I still try to maintain some hope and positivity in it. So you've got to take out you got to take the moments that you can to laugh. And so this is one of them. And if my brother commander is out there, he knows, like, this is just how you get me to die laughing these days. All right. So
You fought in the Clone Wars?
let's watch this. So this is pretty funny.
Jedi Knight, the same as your father.
So I don't want to get like
He was the best.
totally copyright struck with, well, I guess I won't, because these guys aren't, right?
Which reminds me, I have something here for you.
Multi religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
You don't believe in the Force, do you?
I've seen a lot of strange stuff, but I've never seen anything to make me believe there's one all-powerful force controlling everything.
Man, he drove Obi-Wan to pull out the beer. He's like, I can't believe this non-believer. He found the beer fridge on the Death Star. Oh, man, it's ridiculous.
Run! A Jedi uses the Force for knowledge and defense. Never for attack.
But tell me why I can't.
No, there is no why. Nothing more will I teach you today. Clear your mind of questions.
It's not AI. This is how they did. They just spliced it. Now I think it was in Spanish and Chile, so they just, spliced this. So they just like recorded their own thing, made it look like the scene, and then like spliced it in there, and then put it in like this.
Now you must know your father can never be turned from the dark side. So will it be with you.
It is pointless to resist, my son.
Oh man. This has been like, this is now people are just taking this meme and putting it in everything, and it's been freaking hilarious. So I think that I would love to see this kind of product placement in movies, even if it's just being funny for a made to TV thing. I know that Tom was saying that some of the international workers were drinking Cervesa Cristal at the Star Wars section, Galaxy's Edge in Disney. So that would be almost a brilliant thing to do, to try to partner up with this and turn this into something. So I think that's a really awesome way. Now they got sued by Lucasfilm, so that was like done with, but it was like a one-off thing anyway. It's not as if you're going to see versions of those movies out there with that. But now, obviously, with the modern power of video editing, you can see this seamlessly inserted, and it's real. It's crazy because you can go and you can see more than 15-year-old clips of this. For some reason, it went viral now. But these videos have been around for more than a decade on the internet. So people have known about this. I don't know why it took off this week, but it's awesome. Look for more of them, post them. I made a post on Twitter about it. Nobody gave me any memes,
Give me some memes. Send me more videos. It's really funny. I love it. It's been making me laugh. So that's it. That's what we've got. This has been episode 8 of Rolo's Rants. I got through everything on my list. I only had 3 things. I had State of the Union. I focused on the Second Amendment because everyone else is talking about the politics. You can get that everywhere. And I'm going back to my roots here. We're talking about guns, talking about pop culture, politics, all that good stuff. And, we discussed the NSSF, the NRA. We talked a little bit about Bioshock. I'm going to continue those streams. Catch me this week. We're going to do some more Fortnite. The new season is upon us. So we'll see how the old man handles the changes that have been made. I don't even know what's going on. Maybe we'll do a few different streams this week, extra ones to get that in, because I want to play Fortnite. I want to play Helldivers. I want to finish Bioshock. I want to do more. And you guys have been awesome. So thank you so much for joining me. Rumble. We will do this more often. We're going to do the shows here. I'll make sure that it goes to the perfect, to the right spot here on Rumble. But everything worked perfectly. We had a few people watching, so I really appreciate that. Smash the like button over there on Rumble as well. Eventually, we'll get the kick going. Right now, I'm going to focus on Rumble just because it's a great platform. I've had that going on there for a while and re-uploading things. So again, thank you all so much. I see John Smith was there. Rebel Scum, always active in the chat now. Glad that you're a regular. Matt Brahota, Cerberus, always a pleasure to have you here, Cerberus. JM the Elite Fan, Apollo, Jared Hawley, Helldivers is a lot of fun. CDV, Charles Devane. Guys are awesome. Thom was there earlier. Wayfarer, One Car Fast, Warsaw Patriot, Munchie Ninja, Night Train, and who else? Comic Mischief, Greg the Goblin, Dirty Jersey, All Legends, Don Lewis. I think we got everybody. So thank you all for hanging out today, and I will catch you next week with episode 9. And let me know, do you guys like the time for the show? Because I have noticed kind of a little bit of a drop off. It's been weird because we were kind of on an uphill swing. I know that we had a few changes because that Super Bowl episode, and then things got a little bit wonky, and then the guest. So let me know if you think that this time is still good. 7 to 9 on Sundays. Should we make it during the week? Leave it in the comments for this episode. Maybe I'll consider that in the future. This has kind of always been my time, though. So we'll check that out. But thank you again, everybody. Have a wonderful week. Hopefully you guys are used to get used to the daylight savings time and it doesn't cause too much trouble. I will catch you all on the next one. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
Have a good night, everybody, and have a wonderful